Hello, beautiful soul. Welcome to the Elevate Your Soul podcast. Today, I am interviewing Kevin Crenshaw, also known as the Heart Guy, on standards in our relationships. We discuss if having high standards is diminishing your relationships or helping you get closer to your dream partner. We talk about how to attract someone with your standards as high as you think they may be, and how important it is for you to match those standards in order to manifest someone with those qualities into your life. You can find Kevin on Instagram at The Heart Guy. I hope you guys enjoy this podcast episode. Hello, Kevin. Welcome to the Elevate Your Soul podcast.
Thanks for having me again.
First question I have for you again is, what elevates your soul?
Elevates my soul. Oof. This is a really weird answer, but noticing the distinction between your ego and your soul. Like when you have discernment between those two, I think it's because I've been helping a lot of my clients with that recently. I went through that months ago, but like when you actually catch, wait, this is my ego. Like I'm in my ego right now, or wait, like, oh wow, like feel the grounded in the soul. That separation. Because when you say like we say I so many times in a day, right? Like I did this and I did that. Well, who's the I that's doing? Is that your body just going on autopilot, or your psyche going on autopilot, or are you actually dropped in as the higher self?
Yeah.
Running the show. Anyway,
that's so good. So many people love that work though too. Like so many people are in need of that. Like, I don't know, like what I want. A part of me wants this and a part of me wants that. And like, which part of me wants what?
Right. Having the discernment on that is huge.
Yeah. That's so good. And can you tell the listeners just a little bit about who you are, just so they know that I'm not asking a stranger these questions on relationships?
Yes. So I help people heal from toxic relationship histories, pasts, I guess, have more self-love, inner peace, heal from a heartbreak, healing codependency, stop worrying about what other people think of you. It's doing all the work around relationships, but really it's showing up for yourself at a deeper level to be the one, not one.
I love that. All right. So the topic today, the big question I wanted to ask you is, and it's been on my mind for a while now, is are people's standards in relationships diminishing their overall happiness in their relationships because they're keeping their standards high? And is it like stopping them from being in a relationship with someone amazing? Or is it good, and is it bringing them closer to their full potential in a compatible relationship because their standards are so high?
So you asked like two questions there, which was the first one is like, if somebody's in a relationship already and they have high standards.
Yeah, it works for both. Yeah, like so if you're not in a relationship, is it like stopping you from finding the one, or also leaving too early in a relationship? If it's like, oh, there's like something I don't really like about them, I'm going to leave now. Is that like for the better or for the worse? And so it works both ways, I guess, if you're already in a relationship or not.
The only reason that high standards would sabotage anything in your life is if you weren't living up to them yourself.
Okay.
So no matter if the person's single or in the relationship and just has high standards, have high standards, but not dreamy standards. If it feels dreamy, like almost like really too high, then you're not even matching up to them. It's just a wish list.
Right.
So standards aren't a to-do list or how somebody should operate to make you feel loved and safe. Yeah. Standards are a reflection for where you're at, or should be a reflection for where you're at. So you want to, so if you want to like make it work, because you can have super high standards and have that thrive, because maybe your part of having high standards is one of them is that your partner also has high standards. So you know what I mean? But you've also got to be willing to do the inner work, because that's going to be a huge mirror. The higher your standards are, the higher like the inner work is, because you got to work through a lot of the stuff that's going to be brought up in relationships.
Yeah. So I asked a question recently on Facebook on my status, and I asked how many people are effortlessly in love and in a truly happy relationship. And there were some beautiful responses of people saying like, my dream girl or my dream guy, like that person who I thought I was, making up in my head, like as you were saying, this dreamy ideal of someone, and that person came into their life, and now they're like, they have that twin flame connection. They feel it's their soulmate, and they're so happy, and they're just so in love, and the relationship is just so compatible and so in alignment. So the only reason why I want to mention that is because I am a little bit of a dreamer. So when you say like, oh, is it dreamy or is it realistic? I just want to make sure, like with some people, it might be like someone might feel like their high standards are dreamy and they may never get it. Whereas it is possible. And there are a lot of males or females out there who are exactly actually what they're looking for. And that I don't want those people to lose hope and lower their standards because they think that they're reaching too high.
It's not about it's not, here's the thing. It's not about lowering your standards. Never lower your standards. Just make sure you live up to them.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, I want to say that just because if it's dreamy, then you need to start living your dream. You need to start becoming the one to get up in the clouds with that person. You know what I mean?
Yeah, I know what you mean. Yeah.
Yeah. Okay. I wanted to, say that.
So can you give an example of someone who has a really high standard, who's not living that yet, and how they could work on themselves to get there? Like, how do you know when it feels, how do you know when you're showing up to that level to be able to attract someone to that same standard as you?
You'll know. Are you journaling a lot about what you want? Or are you journaling a lot about your inner work? Are you like actually showing up and not just meditating and doing breath work to meditate and do breath work? Are you doing the deep inner shadow work to elevate your consciousness?
Yeah.
Straight up. Like, are you making breakthroughs in your life? Or are you kind of running the same loops over and over again, making lateral shifts? Like, are people reflecting back to you, oh my God, you're changing? Or like, wow, you've changed so much. If that's not a normal vocabulary, then you need to start doing more work.
Yeah. Yeah. And what about the certain standards that people have that are different to who they are? So like a lot of times we like someone because they own something that we don't necessarily have ourselves, or we just attract the opposite. There's like that yin and that yang. So like a quote unquote feminine or whatever person might want a quote unquote masculine. So like they don't need to own their own masculinity if they're wanting.
Then be the opposite.
Yeah.
It's essentially just getting to the same frequency, getting to the same level, working on yourself to where you can play ping pong with them, like in conversation. You go back and forth with things. It's not just one person pouring into the other all the time.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah. And the way I see it as well is like a lot of times when people do have this idea of their dream person and the list or whatever, whether it's personality wise or even looks wise, it's kind of like, if you imagine that person who you want to be with, your dream guy or your dream girl, who do you imagine that sort of person dating? And would they date someone like you? Like a lot of guys are like, oh, I want to date like a Victoria's Secret model or blah, 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 someone who's famous. And it's like, cool. Are you like someone who you think that person would choose?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah. Doing the inner work on it.
Yeah. Mm-hmm. Yeah. So good.
Totally.
And do you think high standards for life in general are elevating our happiness or getting in the way of it?
That determines on your standards aren't high enough if they're getting in the way of it. Let me explain.
Yeah.
If you have high standards and you're not happy because you have all these goals, you have all these dreams, then that you're not hitting, you need to raise your standards even higher, meaning not just goal set, but how are you going to make that stuff happen? Or what are the emotions that stuff is going to give you? What is it going to make you feel when you get the car or get the house or get the relationship?
Yeah.
How can you make yourself feel that now? Because that's what you're really after is the emotions. So when you raise your standards even higher, you recognize that not just what I desire is on my goals and dreams list, but how I desire it and the energy behind that is going to be fun. So I get to bring myself to do it in a fun way. It's changing like the belief around if it has to be hard or not to get that stuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right. So that's an even higher standard. And then even beyond that, it's like showing up and doing more work for yourself. But again, the whole process then is fun. So like the higher your standards are, the more emotionally filled up you'll be. So if you have high standards, you're like down here because you haven't dug to this part of you that's still thinking it has to be hard. You need to raise your standards and get past that, because that's a low standard like mindset.
It's a low standard mindset to think that it's hard to achieve.
I think so.
In life? Okay.
Yeah. I think it's a really high standard to say everything happens so effortlessly.
Now I get what you're talking about. It took me a while. Okay, I get what you're saying now. So So you're saying raise your standards to be like, it's, I'm gonna meet the
not
dream.
Just am I gonna do that?
Yeah.
But I'm gonna have fun along the way.
Yeah.
It's like,
raising the standard. Yeah. So it's not like I'm going to find my dream person in 5 years and then life's going to be great. And then when we get a car and then when we have a baby, it's going to be and then
you're just in dreamland. Yeah. You got to bring it to now. Here's the thing about your goals. Like I said it a little bit, but like what you want. So let's say it's a house, for example. How is that going to make you feel after you have the house? More connected, because you'll be able to like host stuff, maybe a little bit more successful, like more in your royalty because it's your dream home. Like map out all that, and that's what you're really after. That's what the home symbolizes. So get that list and start doing that stuff now. Yeah. And you'll have fun along the way, and you'll actually just make it happen. You gotta be the energy first, and then you'll do the aligned actions, and then you'll get the thing. It's not like taking actions, then you get the thing, then you be happy. Like it's flipped.
Yeah, because a lot of us who are on the hunt in relationships, we want that person to make us feel worthy and to make us feel loved and, like good enough and things like that. We want that constant validation and reminder that we're beautiful or sexy or loved or worthy or a good person or whatever the case may be. But so you're saying like find that sense
within yourself,
find that feeling within yourself first. And
you don't need to rely you don't need to rely on anybody, but the relationship can amplify what's already there.
Yeah, right.
So if you're looking for somebody to tell you like validation, for example, on something, you need to have a certain baseline of self-validation before going into a relationship. Or I would say like you could build it while you're in it. So I take back that statement, but you know what I mean? For a healthy relationship. Like you don't want to rely on your partner. You need to develop your own baselines, and then they amplify it because they can add to it.
Can you speak upon your own experience in that, if you've been through that before, where you were in a relationship where you didn't have a lot of those feelings yourself of self-love or worthiness?
Yeah. I was just constantly worried and anxious, and like I was codependent as fuck and super needy, but I thought I was just being super loving.
Oh, good one.
Right. Yeah. And which is a huge key for codependence. You're like, I'm so loving.
Right.
You're just like addicted. That's a huge key. And I mentioned it at the beginning of what elevates my soul. It's like having that distinction right there.
Right.
Wait a second. Is this really love, or am I seeking external validation, or am I like trying to fill a void? Right. Because love won't you won't feel anxious. You won't feel worried all the fucking time.
And I think a lot of us listening have either been that person who has given everything and been that codependent person who's just overflowing with love and just like constantly doing things for the other person because we're afraid we're going to lose them, or we've had it the other way around and we've dated someone who's been like that. And and if you're not that aware, it does feel really nice to date someone like that. I have before. And it feels really nice in the beginning. And then I kind of realized going in like, a lot of this is actually self-serving. It's actually less about me. And that can kind of show up in different ways too, when you show parts of yourself that they're not wanting to accept. And then they're trying to like.
That's a huge one. If you can, and this is why it can be so muddy. So let me like help save some people time.
Yeah.
You got to be all of yourself. Like, you got to stop trying to be who you think that person wants you to be.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Be a deeper version of you, right? So even on the raising your standards, just be yourself, not trying to shift anything else, right? Because when you're a deeper part of you and you let the sides of you that aren't truly you fall away, you become more and more of a deeper expression of yourself that drops into a deeper frequency or a higher frequency, same difference. And like you'll be able to get on the same wavelength as the other person. But I forgot what I was going to talk about. I kind of went on a tangent there.
But that's a good one because a lot of people underestimate the value of being your authentic self. Is it raises?
Yes. So saving time, right? So if you're playing games, you're still playing. Mm-hmm. If you want to stop all the games, you want to stop all the bullshit, you just want to kind of like anybody out there listening that's like that, be all sides of yourself around this person and see how they respond or react. Yeah. Because it's a mirror. If they can go there with you, that's where they've gone in their inner work. Yeah. They cannot go to a certain place with you that they have not gone within themselves, and vice versa. Yeah. So you're doing a lot of the inner work and you're very present with all different aspects of you, meaning like your inner child and the one side of you that is terrified and scared and wants to be held, and the side of you that is like courageous and makes shit happen, and like the funny one that's just like joking all the fucking time. You want to be all sides of you with that person and just see what's up. Yeah. If it's very one tracked, like you just, it was good sex and that's why you're sticking in it. Like, what's all the things? And that'll also be a better indicator for you to like not waste so much time or not get sucked into something. You know what I mean? Yeah, exactly. And you think if someone is being their vulnerable, authentic self, but they see that as not good because they're in a really dark space. So say for someone's faking being happy because they think that that's usually what people want to date, is a happy person, but they're actually unhappy deep down. Like, is it still wise to be their authentic self? Will that still raise their frequency if they're expressing with the right person? Yes.
With their what?
I don't know. How high are your standards?
Right.
Are your standards high enough that person you're going to be with can see all sides of you and you'll feel comfortable?
Yeah. And once again, that comes back to the standards of yourself too. Like, look in the mirror. If you're wanting to date someone who's not depressed, then work on your own happiness for a while. Yeah. Good. Anything else you wanted to put in for standards in relationships?
I'll say the biggest thing is standards are not the problem.
Okay.
Your high standards can be way higher. That's all I got to say.
Cool.
Because the higher your standards are, then you start to meet yourself, and it's not just about somebody else. Then you start to think about the how. Then you start to get at the emotions of it. Then you even higher. I'm telling you. Yeah. That's it.
Yeah. Awesome. I love it. How can people find you? How can people find your work or find you on social media?
Heartguy.com and Instagram @theheartguy.
@theheartguy. Awesome. Thank you so much. Thanks for your time.
All right. Thank you.
Hey YouTube fam, if you like this video, make sure to hit the like button below. And if you think a friend, a family member, or just someone you know who could benefit from this podcast episode, please share this video with them. And if you've been enjoying the Elevate Your Soul podcast, make sure to subscribe to my YouTube channel for new episodes weekly.